Hello everyone. This video is part of Java tutorial series. In this video, we will look about classes, objects, methods and variables in Java. The views shared in this video are only personal opinion. The video does not intend to hurt anyone's sentiment. Some of the information are gathered from various sources on the internet, which might not be 100% accurate. Hence, recommend discretion. There might be some terms or acronyms usage that was not explained initially. Recommend to go with the flow. They will be explained in the later part when it is ideal in the current video or subsequent videos of this tutorial series. In the last video on Java sample program, I wrote code with class and methods. In this video, we are going to look at each one of them in detail. In Java, classes and objects revolve around real-world entities and are the basic concepts of object-oriented programming. What is a class in Java? Class is a template or blueprint or prototype based on which objects are created. It describes the state and behavior that object of its type support. It is only a logical entity, not a physical entity. Hence, it does not occupy any memory. Class is a group of variables of different data types and a group of methods. What is the general syntax to declare a class? Access modifier, class, keyword, and class name. We will discuss about access modifier in detail later, but for now, remember that the modifier is most likely to be public or default. We have already looked at the naming conventions for class names. What are all the components of a class? As you have seen on the declaration, modifier, class keyword, class name. Then the body or block of code within curly braces. The body block can contain fields or variables, methods, constructors, blocks, nested classes, and others. Before looking at each element in the body block of a class, let's take a look at the objects. I mentioned that classes are blueprints or templates for object. This implies that an object is created from a class. An object is a basic unit that represent real-world entities. In other words, an entity that has state and behavior is an object. Can also be termed as instance of a class. It can be physical or logical, but most of the cases it will be a physical entity. Memory is allocated as soon as an object is created. We have been using the term real world entities a lot. What does it mean? Real world entities are nothing but the things that are available in our real life. So it can be car, pen, chair, or anything. To compare and explain class and object, assume car is a class, a blueprint or a template where the blueprint is it should have tires, body, brakes, etc. Now, the objects of the class can be Mercedes, Ferrari, BMW, etc. An object consists of three characteristics: identity, state, and behavior. Identity. From the name itself, it implies unique ID. It won't be visible to us, and JVM internally maintains it. All we do is provide identifier. That is a name. State represents the data or the attributes of the object. It reflects the properties of an object. Each object will have a collection or a set of properties which collectively makes up the object state. In our example, the properties of a car, color, tires, model, doors, etc., collectively make up the state. Behavior represents the action or task performed by the object. It also reflects the response of an object with other objects. Relating to a real world example, braking, changing gears, accelerating, etc., collectively represents the behavior of the car. How do we define the state in Java? The state is defined by a group or collection of variables in Java. Variables. What are variables? A variable is a container which holds the value while the Java program is executed. It provides us with named storage that can be used to manipulate data or use value in our programs. Each variable of a specific type. What does the type indicate us? The type determines the size and the layout of the variable's memory, the range of the value that can be stored, and the set of operations that can be applied to the variable. These sounds like definition. What exactly happens internally? A variable is the name of a reserved area allocated in memory. In other words, it is a name of the memory location. Vary plus able, which means its value can be changed. What is the general declaration syntax? Data type variable, that is identifier or name, equal to value, or simply data type variable. Well, the first one is with initialization. The second one is only declaration without initialization of the variable. Note, there are quite a few occasions where I have mentioned as general syntax, means it can vary slightly on special cases. Like on this general syntax, it can modify to modifier data type variable equal to value based on the situations. We will discuss about data types in detail later. Some examples of variable. Are there any types of variable? There are three types of variables: local variables, instance variables, static variables. It is hard to explain in detail about this without explaining some core concepts of Java. So for now, we'll just tell what these are. Later, as we move along to those concepts, you will be able to understand in detail. Local variables. These are declared within a block of code, can be declared in methods, constructors, or any block within the body of the class. Local variables are created when they enter into a block and destroyed once they leave the block. They are implemented at stack level internally. It can't be static modifier. Next, instance variable. These variables are declared in a class but outside blocks. That is, it is defined outside of methods or constructors or any blocks. Instance variables are visible to all methods, constructors, and blocks in the class. They are created when object is created for the class and destroyed only when the object is destroyed. The memory space is located the heap level. Finally, static variables, also called as class variables. It must be declared with static modifier keyword and should be outside of methods or blocks. There could be only one copy of each of these class variable per class, regardless of how many objects are created from it. Mostly, they are used to define constant values in Java. Static variables are stored in the static memory, that is, they are created when the program or application start and destroyed when the program starts. Next is the behavior. Behavior of an object is defined or represented by methods. What are methods in Java? A method is a block of code or set of statements or collection of statements grouped together to perform a certain task or operation. How do we declare a method in Java? We have already seen the declaration of method through main method on sample program. The general syntax is modifiers, return type, method name, parameters. A method signature typically depends on modifiers, return type, and parameters. There can be multiple modifiers like public, static, final, int, display speed. Here, public is an access modifier to indicate visibility. Static and final are keywords. The return types is the data type it returns. The data type can be anything: void, integer, object, or any other. We have already seen the rules for method names. Then finally, parameters. That is, list of parameters separated by comma and enclosed within pair of parentheses. Each parameter contains data type and variable. Example, public int display speed, parenthesis, int distance, int time, close parenthesis. A pair of empty parentheses if there are no parameters for the method. The types of method are static, instant, abstract, etc. We will see them in detail on later videos. Methods also serve the purpose of code reusability and code optimization. In lot of places, I had mentioned the term constructor. What are those? Constructor is a block of code that looks similar to the method. It initializes an object when it is created. So basically, constructor is a special method that's used to initialize object. At the time of calling constructor, memory for the object is allocated in the memory. Every time an object is created using the new keyword, at least one constructor is called. Okay, If an object has a constructor, we didn't define any constructor for our sample program. How does that work then? All the classes have constructors, whether you define one or not. Java automatically provides a default constructor if none is defined. So it is not necessary to always define a constructor in Java. But once you define your own constructor, the default constructor is no longer used. So this leaves us with two types of constructors: default constructor and user defined constructor. How do we define a constructor? Constructor must have the same name as the class and should have a return type. The general syntax is access modifier, class name, pair of parentheses, and the code block. Example for the default constructor is: this means there are rules to define constructor. What are all the rules to define constructor? A constructor name must be the same as its class name. Constructor must have no explicit return type. A constructor cannot be abstract, static, final, and synchronized. In a larger perspective, we can define two types of constructors: default or no arg constructor and parameterized constructor. We have already looked at the default constructor. What is parameterized constructor? A constructor that has a number of parameters is called parameterized constructor. Example for the parameterized constructor is, as you can see here, within the parenthesis, we are passing parameters. We know the default or no arg constructor is called whenever an object is created. When do we need parameterized constructor? When you want to set values to the variables on object initialization. For example, it is important for us to know what model the car is when it is left or right-handed drive before performing any operation. We may need this because certain countries have restriction on certain models of cars, and some countries have left hand side drive while others have right hand side drive. So knowing this priority will help in a lot of ways. We have parameterized the constructor on such situations. Finally, object creation. The general syntax for object creation is: type, usually class name, object name, variable, new, keyword, constructor. Can be default or parameterized constructor. Examples: first one is a default constructor and the next one is a parameterized constructor. There are three steps in object creation. Declaration, a variable declaration with a variable name with an object type. Instantiation, the new keyword is used to create the object. Initialization, the keyword is followed by a call to a constructor. This call initializes the new object. There are three different ways to initialize an object: by reference, by method, by constructor. As the name indicates, we can initialize values to an object, that is, set values for the object variables by reference, by method, or by constructors. Let's look at an overall example for all the things that I went through in this video. So, in order to explain all the things that we have discussed today, I created a class car. So this is a real world entity that denotes car. Here at first I am creating a static variable, engine type, which is hybrid. We are simply following the Java naming conventions for standard. Then we are defining instant variables. What are all the properties of a car? Model, brand, is left hand drive. So these are our instant variables. Then we have constructors, one default constructor and one parameterized constructor. In the parameterized constructor, we are getting the parameters is left hand drive and model. So basically this denotes the current object. You will discuss in detail on later videos. Then we have a setter method to set the brand value. And finally, to showcase the local variables, we have a method called calculate total cost. It has the parameter price. So basically in this method, we are passing the price parameter which will calculate the tax and give the total value. So the tax calculation is price multiplied by a standard percentage. Here it is 0.15, which denotes 15%. So the total cost is price plus tax amount. Here both tax and the total cost are local variables. Basically these variables will be created and memory will be allocated only when this block of code executes at runtime and will be destroyed as soon as the block execution completes. How do we create an object for these things? Let's go to the object creation program. The class name is demo object creation. Here we have imported the car class because it was in a different package. So it starts with the package statement, then the import statement, public static void main. Inside main method, first we have one default constructor. So we created an object using a default constructor and then set the values for the variables, that is initialize the state values for that object. Then we have a parameterized constructor where we pass parameters is left and right and model. Here we are just simply printing the static variable. In order to access the static variable, since it is already of public visibility, we are directly mentioning class dot static variable. Here no need for object creation. Then we are printing the values of default constructor and the parameterized constructor. In the default constructor, we are also calling the calculate total cost method just to see whether it works as expected. Now right click, run. So let's check the results. Engine type hybrid is printed as expected. All the results are printed as expected. Now the sample classes as shown are not up to the Java coding standards. Those classes are created purely to show the topics that we have discussed for the ease of understanding. Let's recap with a quick 2-minute summary. Class is a template or prototype or blueprint based on which objects are created. An object is created from a class. An object is a basic unit that represent real world entities. In other words, an entity that has state and behavior is an object. An object consists of three characteristics: identity, state, and behavior. State is defined by collection of variables and behavior through methods. Variables. A variable is a container which holds the value. It provides us with the name storage that can be used to manipulate data or value in our program. Each variable of a specific type. There are three types of variables: local, instance, and static. Local variables are defined within a block of code. Instant variables are defined outside a block of code, and static variables, also known as class variables, are defined with the keyword static, and they are created when the program starts and destroyed only when the program stops. Methods. Method is a block of code or set of statements or collection of statements grouped together to perform certain task or operation. Contains modifiers, return type, and parameters. List of parameters are separated by comma and enclosed within a pair of parentheses. Each parameter contains data type and variable name. Constructors. Constructor is a block of code or a special method that initializes an object when it is created. All classes are constructor. Whether you define one or not, Java automatically provides a default constructor if none is defined. So it is not necessary to always define a constructor in Java. Constructor name must be same as its class name. Must have no explicit return type and cannot be abstract, static, final, and synchronized. There are two types: default or no arg constructor and parameterized constructor. Object creation. General syntax. Type usually class name, object name variable equal to new keyword. Constructor can be a default or parameterized constructor. Three steps here: declaration, instantiation, initialization. There are three different ways to initialize an object: by reference, by method, and by construct. And finally, an example program. After every topic, there will be a set of questions with multiple choice options which you can use to self-check your skill on the topic. These are derived by me for the topic. I will post the answer on the comment section. In case you got it wrong, no problem. Explore and identify what you missed. This exercise will help you in learning the programming language efficiently. First question: identify the correct statement related to class. Second question: choose the correct statements related to variables. Third question: identify the wrong method declaration in the following. Fourth question: choose the correct declaration of constructors. Fifth question: choose the correct statements related to the constructors. Practice makes you better. You can master any programming language if you keep practice coding. After every topic, I will list out the programs for you to try out. For this topic, the tryout is create a class employee. Define variables, all, string, data type, name, alias, address, position. All the best for the tryouts. Thanks for watching this video.